I've been searching down every dead end road. The only treasure it's brought me ain't nothing but fool's gold.
Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be starting a project I've been wanting to do for a while, and that is some twisted Damascus made from old files and lumber mill bandsaw blades. I have reason to believe that these bandsaw blades have a little bit higher nickel content. So before I get too far in this process, I feel it's going to be critical to properly anneal all this metal as much as possible, because I want to use my bandsaw down there, my regular metal cutting bandsaw, to get these pieces of metal to the appropriate sizes to stack upon one another. Bandsaw blade pieces cut up. Old file pieces done. Okay, so I'm doing what is probably the most tedious part of making Damascus, and that is I'm cleaning up each of the layers individually so they're all just as clean as they could be for the forge welding process. The challenge for me right now, though, is I've never done this with files before, and so I'm trying to figure out if I really need to get completely off every sign of the old file cutting surface, or can I leave enough of it there so that it might just be visible in the final product. My concern is I don't want to compromise the forge welding process and get an inclusion that when I twist it up is going to open up into a crack. So I'm really not sure. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. And I'm going to try to preheat the animal a little bit. The fact that it's cold today is good day to be by the forge, but bad day to be forge welding, because this steel is going to really take the heat away from this really fast. And these outer plates are really thin steel, so they'll lose that heat super quick. So I'm honestly not even sure how this is going to go. I really hope it welds good though, because I've spent quite a bit of time prepping these plates. So I've continued with this guy off camera now for half hour, trying to get it kind of squished down to the size I want it, trimming up the sides, squaring it up. And anybody that does this by hand like this, and you're a little crazy. This would be so much easier with a forge press or a power hammer. But I really want hand-forged Damascus made with these hands. And I don't want to buy anyone else's Damascus, and I never will. I'll either do it this way, or I won't have Damascus at all until I can get a forge press or a power hammer. So I'm kind of eyeballing the way these lines look, and I'm going to clean up these sides, and then I think I'm going to put another piece of bandsaw blade in the middle, because the bandsaw blades got lost on the outside edges to oxidation and hammering. So that way it'll be kind of interesting little joining in the middle there too, that I think will show hopefully when I twist it up after a couple more layers. Here's a closer look at the current stack up. Trying to really let it soak good, because I want it to be ready to forge well. I think this whole video might end up just being an example of my failure, because I'm seeing spots in that billet now that look like they're cold, and that's a sign that underneath of that spot there's a crack where the heat isn't passing from one part of the billet to the other. Man, that's frustrating. I've already got at least a good 5-6 hours into this billet, and I haven't even twisted it yet. I was worried that the twist was going to be where things were going to be problematic. But this looks like I've got some problems, and I'm not even near the twist yet. I mean, it's even bubbling out where it's getting cold. That's not cool, man. So I can see I definitely have a cold shut that kind of doesn't share heat sometimes and sometimes does. So there is something wrong with one end of that, a little bit of the weld. Could be a file that didn't get cleaned enough, that still had some oxidation in there. Not really sure, but I gotta play this out. I'm just gonna go ahead and continue on with the plan, get this thing smaller, drawn out a little bit carefully, and then think about the restack. Well, here's the annealed billet. Still got some of the vermiculite and flux mixture on it here, but it's had a couple of days actually to cool down. I haven't messed with it. Anyhow, yeah, I was thinking if this billet got too small, I have a few files still left over, I would make a second billet and then merge it with this billet. But based on that last forging session, I'm reasonably sure that I've got some flaws that are going to be visible in this when I'm finished. So I think I'm just going to clean it up, trim off the edges where I think there's some cold shuts, see what kind of size and layer count I have. I should be around 34 layers. But it depends on how thin they are based on how they got squished down too. And then I'll determine whether I want to stack it one more time or just go ahead and see if I can get it into a twist, just to see what that's going to look like. Because honestly, I have personally never done that with Damascus before, so I don't know what the outcome is going to be the way that I make Damascus. So we'll see. I can see obvious flaws in this billet. See it pretty good. Right, I think you can see it right there. Right there. And there's also a spot on this one right at the other end, right above my thumbnail. Ooh. I don't know if you can see it. They're not bad flaws. The other side's got a little one right right there. So I think I'm just going to, these layers are pretty close together. I think what I'm going to do is cut this guy in half down the middle and prep them for twists and see what happens. Oh, I'm going to round these guys up a little bit after I pull them out of the forge, preheat my vise, and we're going to see what happens. And I really don't know. This may be the worst fail ever for me. So, epic fail on the one that seemed to have a D-lam. It's definitely, I don't have a chisel up here with me, but that is so bad. So bad. I want to hot cut that out of there if I can. You know what? This is a bad idea. Don't ever do this to a knife. It's a cheap knife though, and I don't really care. Oh shoot. Oh man, I did a not do service for that knife. Alright, well, that's out of there. Well, if it isn't obvious yet, I really have no idea what I'm doing. And that one piece is in rough shape. I had to peel out that D-lam. I'm going to twist it anyway, just because I haven't twisted Damascus before and I want to see what happens. Oh no! The good billet is twisted off! Ah, oh, dang it! It's taking a little bit of a layer with it. No! I can't believe that welt came loose, and it's peeling some layers with it. Awesome! Oh! Well, apparently, the one I took a D-lam off of is twisting better. I'm doing the same thing again. Dang it. Okay everyone, that about sums up my first attempt at forge welding files and bandsaw blades and then twisting. I've not done any of that before. You just saw how it went. I was not real happy at the end, but really whether you call this a success or a failure is directly dependent on what you do with what you end up with. And I think I got enough pieces that are going to be worth doing something with. And I'll give you better pictures of these at the end. That I'm going to call it lemonade from lemons. The lessons I learned through this process are, number one, I keep forgetting, if you're going to do it by hand, no power hammer, no forge press, try to cut those pieces of steel you're going to stack together kind of close to the size and shape of what you want to end up with. Because if you don't, you're going to have to move the steel too much, and that's going to lead to broken forge welds further down the road. Number two, make sure that steel is clean, and I mean spotless, when you're putting your layers together. Because if you don't, you could end up with a disruption in the forge weld like I had, which I think was due to not getting those files spotless. Number three, if you're going to twist your Damascus, do not weld any pieces of anything else on the end thinking you're going to save yourself some of the actual forge welded steel, because it completely backfired on me. Not only did those little pieces tear off, they took some of the layers with them and netted me smaller billets when it was all said and done because of those broken forge welds. So anyway, those lessons I learned. Check out some pictures of what I did end up with. I'll see you guys next time.
Cried out to